Okay. So example 1. Find the value or values of B and C if angle A is pi over 3. So basically they're giving us this triangle here. A is right here. They want us to find the hypotenuse and this particular side. Lies right there. So find the value of B and C if angle A is pi thirds. So using the definition on the first page, which trig function would you choose to solve for, let's say, C? Cosine, yeah, cosine will work, right? Because we got the opposite and we could solve for hypotenuse. So sine of A, which is pi thirds, would equal to the opposite of this angle, 5, over C. Do you see why we chose sine? That makes sense? Because it's going to be on you to choose, right? I'm not going to tell you. So once you've set it up, if you end up with 2 variables, then you pick the wrong one. Because you can't solve if you have 2 unknowns. It has to be just 1 unknown. In this equation, I have a C. So I'm good. Okay, so if you do mess it up, you can just change it. You'll be fine. At this point, just do algebra. We can do cross multiplication or just multiply both sides by C. I don't really care how you do it or how you think about it. I'm just going to multiply both sides by the variable C. You cancel C. Then I'm going to divide by sine on the next step. Sine pi thirds is on the circle, right? It's some value. Divide both sides by sine pi thirds. Okay. So C is equal to this. What is sine of pi over 3? One and a half. The y value. So square root 3 over 2 goes right there. Divide by a fraction. That'll be the same as 5 times 2 over root 3, which is 10 over root 3. Okay, so there's C. 10 over root 3. You can rationalize if you want. This time I'm not going to do it. So right here, we're solving for C. I'll put it up here, I guess. Now to solve for B, what trig function should we use? Yeah, put B back to that. Oh yeah, tangent will work. Now that we have C, you could do that. You could do Pythagorean theorem now that you have 2 parts, if you wanted to. But just for the practice of using the trig functions, I'm gonna not do that. But you can. And I don't mind if you do. So someone said 10, right? Tangent of A, or pi thirds, would be equal to opposite over adjacent. So 5 over B. So do the same thing as we did up here. And you'll find B. So B will equal, well, the short work, I guess. There we go. Multiply B on both sides. And then divide by tangent of pi over 3. B will equal 5 over tangent of pi over 3. I'm gonna close that because I'm easily distracted. It's 10 of 5/3. Too many wires. Let's see. I think I have it open. Yeah. 5/3 right here. So y over the x is tangent. So on the bottom, you're gonna have square root 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. Doesn't look very pretty. Right? So these would cancel, it would flip over and multiply, leaving you with 5 over square root 3 over 1. And that's good enough for me. So we got our B and our C. Any questions on the algebra? Is it okay? Any questions on the fraction? I skipped a minor step. Is that fine? No, no big deal either way. Just let me know. Let me know if it doesn't make sense. Okay. What's up? Yeah. You want to show an extra step here? You want to see an extra step here? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I skipped a fraction step, so no worries if either way. 1 second. So let's show all the work. So first we got the values from here. Tangent of pi thirds will be the y value divided by the x value. So that's where this came from. Square root 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. Okay. So one more time. So the 5, I'm just going to leave it here. That's my ugly 5s, I know. So square root 3 over 2 divided by 1/2 is the same as times 2, right? These 2's cancel, leaving me with 5 over root 3. That's it. That's the only step I didn't show. The 1's on the bottom technically, but it doesn't do anything. That make more sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions on number 1? So the whole section is going to be just like this, but we're going to do more. We're going to do something more complicated and different, but in essence, you'll choose one of the 6 trig functions and solve for missing sides. That's it. Okay. And then we'll apply it to something. Number 1 is good. Let me know. Let's do that one right there, number 2. So they give us all the sides and they want us to find cosine, sine, tangent of theta. And then they want us to find cosine, sine, tangent of phi. Notice how phi's up here and theta's down here. So the opposite and adjacent are gonna shift on this one. You guys cool on this page? Okay, so let me know. So suppose x is equal to 9, y is 40, z is 41. That they told us. But I'm going to go ahead and draw the triangle. Theta was right here, lowercase theta. Lowercase phi is over here. It's a right triangle. This side is 40, this side is 9, and this is 41. It's not drawn to scale. So we'll call this part A. What is sine of theta? So look at where theta is. And what is opposite to this specific angle, right? Opposite and then over hypotenuse, right? That's the definition. So yeah, just write those numbers down and you're good. Nothing crazy, right? Now, if we were to do sine of phi, phi's up here, so what would be the answer? Yeah, 9/41. Right, opposite to this angle over hypotenuse. So what's cosine theta? Yeah, 9/41. See, it's all based off the definition, right? What about cosine phi? Tangent theta. Yeah, 40/9. Tangent phi. So not too bad, right? It's all based off your definition. Okay. So that's what they're going to want here. So 1 through 6 is just writing those numbers in. Okay. Any question on number 2? That seemed doable. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for number 2. Let's pick another one. I think I picked this earlier. Let's do number 3. It's a little bit different. Kind of. Let me just write down this question. In the triangle given above, express x and y in terms of trig ratios. Of the angle z. All right. I didn't draw the triangle. All right. So in this question, you can't find the actual number. So you're just going to express it as, you're just going to solve for x and leave it in general terms. Okay. But you need to choose the correct trig function to start with. So if you want to solve for x, what would you choose? What do you think? Yeah, I think cosine would be good. So for x, cosine of z would be equal to adjacent over hypotenuse, right? So here's the z, adjacent, hypotenuse. Now just solve for x and you're done. Okay. So notice how it's not going to be in an actual number. It's just going to be x equals 28 cosine z, whatever that is. It's just general. So multiply both sides by 28, and you'll be done. So x, the answer you would type in would be this. X is equal to 28 cosine z. Does that make sense? So do the same thing for y. So you need to choose a trig function. What would you choose? Yeah, I think sine's good. Let's do it. Sine of z is equal to y over 28. Multiply both sides by 28. Cancel. Y is equal to 28 sine z. Any questions on any of the steps or the setup? Does it make sense? Yeah. Yeah, no rush. Plenty of time. You see how it's just the same thing over and over again, right? Just can you set it up based on the definition? So just write the definition on your formula sheet and you should be good. No, wait a sec. Everyone good? Okay, just let me know. No questions on 3. Yeah, let's pick a different one. Let's pick something harder. Let's see here. A lot of those are the same, so let's move on to something different. This guy here. Here they don't give you a picture. They just tell you have an ABC triangle. They give you 2 pieces and ask you to solve the entire triangle. So let's do this together. Okay. So I'm gonna write that down here. Suppose that that triangle ABC. So capital letters would be for angles, lowercase for sides. With a right angle, and try to shorten this up at C. Capital C. and hypotenuse lowercase c. Wait, what's one more information here? That's right. Solve the triangle. Given this information. All right. Trying to shorten up as much as I could. So I don't like writing too much unless I have to. So they did not give us a picture. They gave us capital A and lowercase c. They told us it is a right triangle. What other information can you glean from the statements? Do we have any other angles? Yeah, we got A. What else? Yeah, we have the fact that it's a right triangle, right? So where is the 90 going to be? That's technically given to us, right? Now, we should all know that the sum of all the angles is 180 for any triangle, correct? Yes. So if you have two of them, you should be able to solve for the last one. Okay. So solve for B. B is equal to, yeah, it's going to be 44. So subtract the other two, and you'll be left over with the B angle. So I'm going to box the ones we solved here. Okay. The rest was given. Any questions on how we found capital B? Does that make sense? So technically you can get a lot of information just by, just thinking about it. A and B will be the only ones that I kind of have to do calculations using the trig functions. If it helps, you can draw a triangle. It's not a big deal. The convention is to put the lowercase opposite to the capital. So lowercase a is over here. Lowercase b is there. Hypotenuse, we said, was given as 2. Capital A is 46. Capital B, we found it to be 44. If this helps, what trig function would you use and angle to find, let's say, lowercase a? What do you think? Yeah, sine of which angle? Okay. Let's do it right here. Solve for lowercase a. So sine of 46, if I choose this angle and this trig function, it would be equal to the opposite side over the hypotenuse, right? So lowercase a over 2. Just solve for a and you're good. Multiply both sides by 2 and you'll be done. Any questions so far? What is 2 sine 46? I don't know what that is. Make sure your calculator is in degrees. I think they said to round to something, right? 4 decimals. Okay. 1.4 387. 387. Okay. You guys okay so far? And so do the same thing for lowercase b. So there's what trig function and angle would you choose? Yeah, I think that's a good one. Sine of 44 would equal lowercase b over 2. So I think drawing the triangle out kind of helps, right? So just do whenever you want. So I'll skip a minor step. B will be equal to 2 sine 44, which is approximately something. 1.3893. Any questions on any part of this problem? Okay. Okay. I'll wait a bit and then we'll do a different one. Yes. It depends on what's missing and what's given. So you need to decide what's the most useful. Like, for example, let's say I didn't know, right? And I chose tangent 46. You see how tangent 46 would be equal to A over B, right? That would be two unknowns at the same time. You can't solve two at the same time. So you would have to choose something different. So if that happens, like you choose the wrong one and end up with two variables, pick something else. And after a while, you'll start to see, okay, I'm going to choose strategically what's the most useful. Like here, sine was the best choice because I can do only one operation and I was done. If you would have chosen like secant or something else, you might have to do a couple extra steps, but it'd still work out. It just depends on what you have or what you've already solved for. If you have most of it or all of it except one, you can almost choose whatever you want because there's only one thing missing. So as long as your trig function incorporates that variable, you'll be good. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions on number 4? Okay. Let's do a word problem. That's what all this is leading up to. These are the same. Oh, here we go. This is very long, so I'm going to try to sum it up. Basically, it's a U2 plane, takes a picture of a building that's suspected of housing nuclear warheads. It's a very serious question, I guess. And the photograph is taken, the angle of elevation of the sun is 45 degrees. So you need to read it over and over again until you're able to draw it out. And sometimes it takes many reads until you figure it out. It's not always clear. And sometimes I miss it myself. Like on 14, I was doing that earlier and I had no idea what they were talking about. Took me a bit. So just read it as many times as it takes, but you need to draw it. Let me put on this next page. You guys are cool on the last page? Okay. So example 5. I'm just gonna call it U2 plane. That way we don't have to write that much. You can look it up later. So they said angle of elevation of the sun is 45 degrees. So this is what I'm picturing in my head. Got my amazing building here. Got a happy little sun over here. Now, the question said, if we read further, that the building casts a shadow that's 61 feet long. Okay, so I'm gonna draw a shadow. The sun's on the right, and the shadow should be over here, right? I believe that's how it works. Now, when they say angle of elevation, that means you're gonna be looking towards the sun, right? So elevation angle is right here. So that's my 40, what do they call it, 46? Right? Or was it 45? 45? Yeah. Okay. This forms a right triangle. Well, now that I've drawn it, it's not crazy, right? It's pretty straightforward. We're just finding the missing side. The side that they want to know is the height of the building, which is the opposite side. Okay. Does that make sense? To just read it over and over again until you get a picture. And it just takes some practice because it's sometimes difficult to visualize. How tall is the building? Okay. All right. So now that we have all this information, let's call it the height x. What trig function would you use to solve for x? Yeah, I think tan is the best choice. So if I do tangent of 45 degrees, that would be equal to x over 61 feet, right? So solve for x, multiply both sides by 61 feet. What is tangent of 45? Yeah, so it's gonna be 1 times 61. So it turns out that the height and the shadow are the same length. That doesn't happen often, but it happens. It's okay. So that's 61 feet times 1, which is equal to x. So the height is 61 feet. Whatever. Any questions on the setup? That's the hard part, right? Trying to visualize this and then choosing the correct setup, the trig function. Yeah. Oh, that's by the definition of tangent, opposite over adjacent. So when you're choosing the trig functions, keep those definitions in mind. That'll help you choose the correct one. Okay, like, it all depends on what you have and what's missing. Any other questions on number 5? Okay. That's pretty much all of 5.4. I think that's the end of chapter 5. So, oops, I'm gonna close that. Yeah. This is a weird one. Just want to show you how they draw it. When I first read this, I couldn't picture it at all. I had to check the answer. You approach a hill on a top where which there is a tall radio antenna. So there's a hill, and then there's an antenna on top of the hill. And that's what they said. You know from your map that your horizontal distance from the bottom of the radio antenna is 600 feet. So I'm like, okay, well. Okay. The angle elevation to the bottom is 10 degrees. From the bottom, and then from the top is 25. To like draw that out, it took it. I missed it at first, but once you see it, it makes sense. Like, okay, so there's two different elevation angles. Okay, so if you get the drawing, you'll be good. But if you miss it, then the whole thing's gonna be wrong. Okay. Anyway, I'll leave these two to you. Just think about it. Of course, an exam question, I'd pick something nicer because there's limited time. But homework is whatever, you have all kinds of time. These are just interesting. Just take your time, think about it. All right. You guys have any questions on 5.4 or from last time? That'll be due next week. I haven't chosen a day yet. Probably Wednesday or Friday. Okay. We'll do 6-1 on Monday. So the rest of the time will just be for questions. Do you have any issues with 5.1 through 3? Let me know.